Drop it.
Hey, what's happening? We're with Richmond's up-and-coming rapper, Junior. What's good, my dude?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Definitely. So, I want to ask a couple questions about what's been going on with you lately, because I know you've been, you've been doing it big lately. Basically, for those who don't know, you were actually introduced to the game at a pretty young age. Talk to me a little bit about that and sort of what you experienced.
Yeah, for sure. I started off when I was 9. It was in my grandma's house or her apartment, and my Uncle Frank had a keyboard, and he was just messing around, starting off with like a simple beat. And I happened to walk in, and I just peeped the beat, and it was so simple, but it was catchy.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I remember we were listening to Snoop Dogg's album, Doggy Style. I think that was like the first CD my mom ever bought me when I was like really young. That was like the first album she bought me. So I was mimicking at that time this verse that Snoop was saying, and it kind of caught to the same rhythm that beat was going.
Right.
So it kind of helped me get into tempo on learning how to get on beat, and I just started writing my own music. And next thing you know, I showed my Uncle Frank what I wrote, or I just started spitting it, and he figured out that, man, that I was like on point in what I was saying.
Right.
And after that, he ended up introducing me to a local and Bay Area known producer and engineer, DJ Scoots, with DJ Loke out of Richmond, California. And I ended up going to his house just to go visit with my uncle. And later on, they had a beat I recorded, and that's where I started off my first song that I ever recorded, called Side to Side, when I was 11. And that was back then, before it was like this digital era that we're in now. I was recording way back on ADAT, using them tapes. So that's how far I take it back.
Okay, that's what's up, man. So your uncle introduced you to DJ Scoots, and then from there, that's sort of when you started your career. What happened after that?
So after that, I just kind of picked up steam. I was just always carrying beats and had CDs with me. So every time we had like little lunch sessions, like at school at Downer, I would play beats and write. And we had a poetry class for after school program, because moms had to go work and dads had to go work, and we had to just kind of stay occupied. So
right.
There was a poetry class in at our school, or after school program, but it wasn't like a poetry class. Like, we would write poetry, but it was more like dissecting like songs like Tupac, Biggie, Black Eyed Peas, and all these other these neighborhood rappers, and to kind of figure out what's the meaning besides the stigma of like bad rap, or quote unquote. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I started picking it up. And then they didn't know at the time that I would be rapping, so that I was rapping. And then I introduced them my tape, and like, who's this? And I said, this is me. So they just kind of picked up like, wow, you're rapping, how do you do it? No one knew at the time about recording or how to do it. Like, everyone just seen it like on TV, or at least a lot of us thought it was like a LA thing. Like, if you go big, you're from SoCal.
Right.
So when they seen a young dude, especially being Mexican and predominant, especially in hip hop, it's African American based in the sense, or how they wanted to put it. I wanted to break that stereotype, because hip hop is not just that. It's based off every culture. If it's a drum, a snare, a sound, hip hop is kind of just one whole big melting pot. So I wanted to kind of break that. So that's where I started off, in that hip hop class, in that poetry class. And then from there, the person who was helping me out, his name was Cesar Cruz, who ran the program. He was an advocate of education and poetry and civil rights, and he used to take us to UC Berkeley. And then one time I got to perform out there, and a lot of times I got to perform and freestyle like on the streets of Berkeley and on campus. And that was when I was 11 at the time still, and I was able to perform. And then at that point, someone approached me. I guess they were from Sony. I don't know if it's true or not, but they were very, claimed to be and very focused that they could help me out. So at that point, I was being scouted, and I was going back and forth back with them when on email back then, believe it or not, back when we had AOL dial-up. So that's how you know it's real.
Okay. So you met this alleged scout from Sony.
Correct.
Could have been true, could have been not.
But it motivated me. It's like, who, what's the opportunity here? So I just kept grinding. I just went off of that. So.
No, absolutely. Hey, I mean, if you get the opportunity, might as well take it. So once you met this scout, what exactly happened from there?
From there, it's crazy because after I got off stage, I performed. That's the first time I performed in front of 300 people, and everyone was up. I'm talking about like college students and professors, and I'm like, wow, this is dope. And amongst my peers, and that's the first time I signed autographs.
Damn,
and I'm just like,
dude.
I'm in class with the majority of these people who came out.
Right.
And I'm signing autographs for these older folks. Like, I mean, maybe they're in the same position as I am, but as an adult, facing adversity, and just to see that, I don't know, like I felt like that was my outlet at that point. Like that's the only way I could get my point across on how I was feeling because there was so much going on. But yeah, man, that definitely motivated me. The first time I ever signed autographs, and it just pushed me forward to keep producing tape. And then we ended up getting another program, which was an actual hip hop class, and that I was able to get on 2 tracks out of that mixtape. And it was dope because it was off 2 Dr. Dre instrumentals from the Chronic 2001, so it was good to hop on the beat like that.
Oh, okay.
So at that point, by 11 or 12, I was already on 2. I had my own tape, and I was on a collab amongst the program. So been on 2 tapes at that point already.
Okay, that's what's up. So did you continue making music throughout the rest of your childhood, or how did that go about exactly?
So after elementary school, going into middle school, I still kept making some music, but I just kind of fell off because at that point I had to transition. I was no longer in Richmond or the San Pablo area. I ended up going to Pinole.
Okay.
So it was just a different vibe at that point. Things change. People try to push you or test you. So it was kind of like a new transition. But I was always writing. I just didn't have the accessibility of going to record as much as I would want, but I was still putting out a couple tracks. Actually, one of the summers when I was in middle school, I ended up putting out 2 or 3 tracks, and at that point I was always kind of, until this day I still am, it's more of a quality over quantity type of thing. So I'd rather put 2 or 3 good songs with that time that I have and kind of focus on that. So I was still able to do a couple songs, and even when I got to high school, my freshman year over summer, I did like 1 or 2, and then senior year, I actually did a 12-track mixtape. It was horrible because at that point I didn't have Scoots no more, and working a part-time job at GameStop, making like $8.50 an hour, like
right.
And I'm the oldest, and I got to go up and down, so I got other priorities as well, and it sucks because you want to follow your passion instead of following the provisions. But it is what it is at the time. But at that point, before I graduated, Scoots had reached out and said, hey, I can't help you as much as I could because he was busy working and doing other things. So he ended up giving me his whole studio set up with his microphone and so many plugins, and he bought me these KRK speakers, and then from there I just slowly started learning a little bit on how to work Pro Tools. Shout outs to Miss Hanson too. A lot of people think she's crazy. She a little bit crazy, but she's good people. She gave me a Pro Tools book, and she told me just keep reading it, and Scoops did too as well, and I just kept reading it, and I ended up putting out my first tape. Oh, and another thing too, I did end up recording in San Jose too, with one of Frank's friends. I can't remember his name,
Mm-hmm.
but we ended up putting up a song. Then the beat, who did I buy it from? Some dude named Ricky from the city. Don't know what his alias is, but shout out to Ricky from the city. If you see this, man, you know that beat you sold me, man. It was raw, and yeah, man. So I was able to put it in my own tape. It sucked, but people still purchased it. I was selling it for like $5. I was trying to, but it would go for like $3 just to get it out. It was horrible quality.
Yeah.
But just the fact that I was able to put something, it was kind of like unreal in the sense that I didn't know you spit. Like, you're this dude from Richmond that goes to Pinole Valley High now, and you're this Mexican dude. Like, really, you're into that? And I was just so self-conscious at the time because I knew I could go bar for sure with a lot of dudes that were spitting there. Not to put them down, like that's not it. But I could have for sure. But I had a lot of people too who said, "Hey man, I heard you. Like, let me hop on a track with you." And a lot of them are successful rappers right now as well. So shout out to them.
All right, man. So I know recently you ended up getting back in the game. What sort of influenced you to do that and continue doing your thing?
I said what influenced me right now is just the fact that we're in such a rough time right now. Not to get into politics, but what we've seen is kind of more visual than ever. It's not as sugar coated as it used to be, even though we know what's been going on for the longest. But I just think a lot of that conscious rap is needed, because I felt for the longest I felt stuck in a bubble that I couldn't do my type of music.
Right.
And but now I feel like it's more of a it's the perfect time to do it. And somebody who inspired me too, because I started writing while I was in college as well, and I've just been writing and writing and writing. It just wasn't the right time. I didn't find my niche. But this last quarter at Cal State Eastbound happened to get off of school and went to Barnes and Nobles in Emeryville, and I was buying my coffee and had my hoodie on, just minding my business, and some guy said, "Hey, so you look like a rapper." I said, "Nah, man." So I just gave him my card, and honestly, I knew, like, well, in a sense, I kind of am, but not really.
Right.
And once I gave him my card, and he was just saying, he said, "Yeah, you are." He said, "You're junior." I said, "You're junior G." Well, that's why I used to go by. "You're junior." I said, "How do you know, man?" He's like, "I used to listen to your mixtape, the last one you did, with that video that you put out in your Camaro." He's like, "I was in high school. You were already 2 years out." He's like, "And I would listen to that when I was walking to school." And I said, "Wow." I kept thinking, because it was such a crappy tape to me.
Yeah.
But he said he would listen to that on his way to school, and that would get him. He's like, "I've been waiting for you ever since you dropped that tape in that first video to continue." And I just stopped due to circumstances. And sometimes, you lack, or we lose a little bit of that motivation. But I remember right there and then, he's like, "Here, you're gonna pay for this," and he gave me his employee number, and he's like, "I know you're in school, you gotta save money." He's like, "Whatever books you need, I get 50% off. Here's my discount." He's like, "But I need you to continue to start writing." And I was just like, bro. And then from there, I just started going crazy again. I just started writing. My flow is way better. My beats I'm choosing is way smooth to what I want to, and it's for me. But I know there's a lot of people who like me, or that can feel me, can understand, and I understand the people.
Right.
So that's what definitely motivated me.
Dude, that's what's up, man. So, like, as of right now, are there any current projects you're working on, or anything of that nature?
Right now, I got an EP coming out that's called The Hood Commentator.
Okay.
It's gonna consist of one of the old songs that I have back from 2012. I'm gonna try to revive that and put it back in there. And I have a track right now too that's called Setup, that was produced by yourself.
Right.
So trying to get that working, and it's gonna be probably like around 3 or 4 tracks. And then after that, I got another project called The Winner's Mind. So that's what I'm constantly working on right now.
Okay. All right, that's what's up, man.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you a couple things about Richmond, because I know you were telling me, you grew up there, lived there most of your life. Basically, what was growing up in Richmond like, and sort of what are some of the things that you experienced during that time?
It was cool, man. It was definitely it just becomes a part of your everyday living. Like, I didn't know until probably now what innocence is, because now I'm like this adult that wants to be innocent and have fun, because you kind of didn't have that growing up, but it was just so normal. It was the norm.
Right.
Like, watch out, you can only go down on the sidewalk, and if you go in pairs, and this and that. And I mean, it was rough in a sense, but it was all that we knew at the time, so we made it the best. We didn't see, there was definitely discrimination, but
right.
within like the neighborhood or the kids or going to school, I mean, we got along, but it was definitely tough, man. I was telling my friend the other day, we were just reminiscing that the first time we ever had a lockdown was when I was in 4th grade, because somebody had got their throat slit down the street by Richmond High, and I mean, you think of things that you're supposed to just be going to school and have fun, maybe join a sports team or something, but I mean, some of us do, but at that time it's just kind of like, how much can we do, or how much can our parents do for us? And it's not that they can't, but you gotta just work what you're given. You know what I'm saying? So it was tough times like that, but our parents and the community and the people around us made it the best as they could, man. And I can't complain, because they molded us to the people that we are today, to not take things for granted and just keep pushing forward. It kind of gives us that hunger, and that's that Richmond feel. We always want a little bit more, but we want enough to be able to give back to the community. So
Right. No, I know exactly what you mean because I was actually, I remember I had a conversation with a friend, I want to say like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
He was telling me that, when you grow up in, a nice area, it kind of gives you, excuse me, like a kind of a dangerous area,
Yeah.
it kind of gives you tough skin. And, it kind of motivates you to grind harder and get out of the place that you originally came from, as opposed to coming from a nice area. You tend not to have as much motivation just
Yeah.
because you're so used to living that comfortable lifestyle.
Exactly. Like I've told previous bosses or anywhere where I've had interviews and say, why do you want this job? It's simple, because I want more.
Right.
And they'll ask, what if it doesn't work? Well, I have my work boots in the car. Like it's harder for someone that starts at the top or where they're settled to then, if they were to have a downfall, they wouldn't even know how to get back up. But when you've already seen the ground, and that's when you started off, then you know how to go ahead and juggle that and balance it out. So the fall doesn't hurt as much. So that's something that we're grateful in the sense of coming from an area like that.
Definitely, man. And like you said, it kind of it sort of makes you hungry to try to achieve more.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
nah, man, I definitely feel it. As because some people aren't really familiar with Richmond, but I think Richmond definitely does have the reputation for being a more dangerous city compared to other cities in the Bay Area. Why do you think that is, and what do you think contributes to that?
I wouldn't say exactly. I mean, it is a dangerous city compared to other areas, but
Right.
the Bay Area definitely has some dangerous cities. I mean, you think of Oakland, San Francisco, you don't hear as much, but because it's broken down to so many areas, like you got the Mission, Hunters Point, the Fillmore, so it's different sections, and Richmond is small, so it's not really broken as much as the section, but even though we have different sides, just like Oakland does. But I mean, I think just we get hit hard sometimes because we're a smaller city than Oakland or San Francisco. There's not as much traffic, so everything that goes down in Richmond, you get to know what goes down in Richmond. So I think that's what kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. And also, man, it's hard times economically, so when things are tough economically, people turn to do desperate things, man, and desperate things go into incarceration, to leaving kids at home by themselves, to raising themselves. So I mean, that's it becomes a system that ends up somewhat trying to set us up for failure. That's why our music has to be impactful. The fact that we have to put out this music to be able to project the lifestyle and project the circumstances, to be able to kind of recap and refocus on what's going on and say, okay, this is what's going on. I'm not just the only one that's going through it, everybody else is. So the music reflects that, and that's kind of like our step forward.
Right.
So a lot of shout out to I Am Sue, Cool John, the whole HBK gang, because they're doing that whole positive movement. So that's definitely needed, and I mean, as you can see, that's been taken worldwide. So shout out to them.
Definitely, man. Because I agree. I mean, we do live in an economy that sort of encourages people to want to commit crimes. I feel like if we lived in a different type of economy, there might be less of a chance that something like that would happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
So no, I definitely get what you're saying there. In terms of the crime that's been going on in Richmond, has anyone made an effort to try to restore the community or anything of that nature?
I haven't been in tuned as much, but as far as like what I could see when I kind of step back into Richmond, I mean, you have like the HBK gang start, who has like certain toy drives down at the centers, and you have your individual folks, man, your mom and pops stores, and I think nowadays kids are becoming more conscious. I guess social media is a positive way in that. And it helps more as far as like being involved in the community. Not to toot my own horn, but me myself, growing up there and seeing certain things, and when I started work, I like to go sometimes from that area all the way to Berkeley, and if I have a couple dollars, I go ahead and hand out some water to the homeless. So I mean, and just getting out good vibes, man. Just going back to the schools and talking to the kids.
Dude, that's what's up, man. I respect that. All right, man. So what's your take on the Bay Area rap scene right now in Richmond?
The Bay Area rap scene in Richmond, I gotta say, it's very independent right now, man. We're not tripping off of labels or anything like that. Or I think we're just having a good time right now making music. I mean, I'm usually more into, from my perspective, more into conscious music in a sense, but
Right.
there's always that music, no matter what's going on, that just makes you feel good. So I'm not into knocking people down as far as like their music, as if it's mumble rap or whatever. But if it's a good vibe, sonically, I'll go ahead and listen to that. So I mean, you have your good spitters, a lot of people who are giving a lot of game. Filthy Rich, Jay Stylin, Mr. Fab, Locksmith from Richmond, who's doing incredible. Our ambassador, E40, G-Eazy, Oakland and Berkeley. I mean, it's just good. It's just good fun right now, man. It's great right now. It's a good time to be alive and to do music, and it's more needed than ever, especially with, like I say, with everything that's going on
Right.
in the world right now. But I think everyone's just having a good time right now, man. They're just enjoying this positive grind and letting people know that we could bring it back to the neighborhood.
Dude, that's what's up, man. Because I was actually going to ask you, how would you distinguish the Bay Area rap scene in Richmond to the Bay Area rap scene in general? Like in Oakland and San Francisco and those areas.
I think we have the same vibe. I think as far as like, if we go to Richmond, if we're in Richmond, a lot of us go to Oakland. A lot of Oakland goes to San Francisco. We're always up and down. We have cousins and relatives here and there, so I think we're all kind of sharing that same type of vibe. You know what I'm saying? So. Not too much different in my perspective, but if anything, I could say that one thing we do have in common is the positivity of the grind right now.
Okay, that's what's up, man. Definitely, because I was gonna ask you, do you feel like as of right now, Bay Area rap is headed towards the right direction, or what's your take on that?
I think so. We've been holding our ground. At the Bay Area, man, we have so much game. We go from rappers like Drake that come down to Yo Gotti that come down and mess with Bay Area cats, and I'm not saying that they're taking our game, because they for sure give props.
Right.
Man, there's a lot of game here, and so they go ahead and take this and then take it out to the rest of the world, and it goes platinum every time. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely have a good vibe, and I think we have a lot to give. But the Bay Area compared to the rest of the world, we just have so much game to offer. That's how I could put it. From the lingo to how we hustle, to be independent, to just everything. From hood raps to intellectual rap to earthy raps. If you think of Berkeley, if you think of pimps and hustle, you think of Oakland and the city and Richmond and Vallejo. So it's all good, man. We have a good variety.
Dude, that's what's up, man. Cause I was gonna say, my last interview that I did was with a rapper named What's Real. Shout out to him. He's definitely been doing his thing lately. He was telling me he felt really good about Bay Area rap. However, he was saying that he does feel like it kind of lacks resources, and that it definitely doesn't have as many resources as other cities such as LA, Atlanta, Chicago, those cities. What's your take on that?
I agree. There's some of us who can make it. Shout out to Filthy Rich, because I was seeing one of his interviews, and they asked him, how does an independent rapper make it outside of the Bay?
Right.
And he answered it so simple. He said, buy a plane ticket. A lot of us are afraid to venture out because we think that we can't make it outside, because we think that, or some of us feel like we have to be LA to make it out. Because when you think of hip hop and you think of the coast, you only think of when you think of the East, you think of New York.
Right.
When you think of the West, you think of LA. And a lot of rappers who made it successfully, who've made a successful impact here, has ended up moving to LA and been able to go ahead and prosper in their careers. And then some of us who are still here, who are just either barely starting or been here for a minute or know how the game works enough to be able to have a solid base to continue to grow here and then make it go across the country. So I would recognition, as far as I think we don't get enough of it. As
Right.
far as being from the Bay, when we supply so much game, so much swag, everything. But definitely, I guess, resources in that fact. I don't know. There must be something different in the water, but whatever's in the water right here, man, is good, because we stay winning. We don't let big labels push us. We know what we want. We have good swag. We have good messages, and there's something about that water, man. Our Giants win every other year, and our Golden State Warriors just won back to back, man. Well, back in 2015 and 2017. So there's something in this water, man. We're doing something good.
Dude, absolutely, man. I feel like, especially these last couple of years, like we really have been, putting our city on the map. And,
For sure, man. We definitely have.
Dude, absolutely, man. As far as recognition goes, what do you think it would take to continue to achieve that objective?
Continue to do that objective. We just got to keep grinding, man. We just got to keep networking. We have to go ahead and reach out. Just keep pushing. Keep talking to our bigger homies. Our big uncles, our ambassadors. And just to stay laced up and keep an ear open to how we can do it, because we don't have to settle for less or think that we have to take a decline to be prosperous. So we definitely gotta keep networking amongst ourselves and stop the hate. I mean, when you think of LA rappers, they bond, even if it's different sides of gangs or whatever. But when it comes to making music in the booth, they make it and they prosper. So I think we need to do more of that, connect a little bit more, and share the resources amongst ourselves.
Right. As far as the music goes, are there any venues or any clubs that you plan on performing in the near future?
I want to just start right now just doing like open mics and just kind of just spread the music out. I'll get into that a little bit further down. Right now I just want to just kind of just really just focus on the craft and start networking, going back to where people who I knew that were in the that seen me grow within the music and have connections. One thing that I am planning to do as soon as I drop this tape, The Hood Commentator, is that I want to go on a UC tour, and hopefully that's possible. It's going to be a different type of tour. It's not like a regular tour where you go out and perform, but it's more like the advertisement. It's more like the way I go ahead and put myself out there. I mean, it's easy to go ahead and just drop a song on YouTube and hoping that it gets plays, and then have your friends on Instagram post it and say, hey, follow me, or spread the word. But my point of a UC tour would be to hit every UC in California and have posters and have little tickets or so. I'm still working on it as far as like where they could go and get my music directly from my website. That'll lead them to the YouTube pages, to the Instagrams, and say, well, hey, why are you here? You're barely starting off. Like, a lot of people might think like, doesn't make sense, you're not popping like that yet to be doing this. But I think it's a great way to kind of advertise myself and put myself out there and say, well, hey, I believe in myself that much that I'm going to go to every UC in the state, talk to the college students and be like, here, check my information out, and I could probably do some performances there just on acapella, or drop a couple beats and just do more of a street performance on campuses in a sense. But and then I'll have a videographer with me as well, just recording. So they'll blog the whole tour. They'll put it on YouTube, and so the tour will be of me hitting every UC, handing out my music, handing out my information to people to see, so the people can see the journey that I've took just to hand out information. So it'll be a big step. It's something different as far as like how I want to approach it.
Right, man. And I think that's a great idea, because I think the more you do that, your music will continue to spread and get out there to other places. So
correct, yeah. So that's my type of tour, like as far as like just getting in my car with my videographer and then hitting up every UC. Like, I don't know who's done that just to advertise their music.
Right.
And it's not even out like that. So I could just be going to the kids and be like, hey, here, I'm hitting up every UC in California. My music is somewhat popping right now, but I've come all the way from Richmond, California to, let's just say, UC Irvine, to let you know that you should listen to my music and record that. So, just to get my perspective.
Dude. All right, man. So if there's any advice that you had to give to young up-and-coming rappers, what would you tell them?
I would just tell them to stay in their lane. It's hard to say, to tell someone to stay in their lane when everything else is popping and you're thinking like, man, I don't think my stuff will pop off. But you definitely gotta do what makes you happy, as corny or cliche as that sounds, but do it for yourself, and then other people will follow. Don't go and chase the dollar bill. I myself, if I were just to go ahead and pursue this, I mean, it costs money to stay in, in booths and recordings and everything and studio time. So I mean, for me, it's starting off as a hobby. I enjoy it. I want to get my message and my music across. It feels good. But just continue, just stay in your lane. Just don't stop grinding. Just continue to work. And even if you only have one follower, if you have 2 followers, whatever it might be, even if you're the only person at the moment who's listening to your music, just keep pushing it. Because someone once told me, this was back when I was in my first year at Cal State East Bay. They said, I don't care if you have one, they said, I don't care if you have 100 followers, but if you have one that listened,
Right.
then you've already made a difference. You've already impacted someone, and that triggered something, and then that might go off into something. So it's like the trickle effect. It keeps going down and down. So whatever information or whatever you put down, they're going to take it, have their perspective, and then pass it on. So it's just this breakdown of everything. So that's just keep grinding. That's all I can say. Just keep pushing and do it for yourself, and just stay true to the core.
Dude, that's what's up, man. Definitely respect that. Wanted to ask you, are there any issues or any situations that you wanted to address?
As far as what?
Just the music thing, and anything that's been going on in the Bay Area community.
Well, our president's kind of weird, but I'll try to stay away from the politics. But right now is a good time to stay woke. Stay involved. We might not be able to change the whole country, but we can start in our communities. We definitely have those rights to vote, to make a change. And if our so-called votes are not taken seriously, then us as a community could go ahead and take things into our own hands. I mean, we can't see the bigger picture, or they can't see the bigger picture or bigger change. I mean, you could always start with your neighbor, and that's how I look at it. One of the things is, like I said previously, when you start from the bottom up instead of from the top, and if you fall, the fall is harder because you don't know how to get back up. You haven't been through the struggle.
Right.
When you started from the bottom, you gradually see as you grow what's going on, what's right and what's wrong. You see that struggle. So when I see that, I definitely like to go ahead and give back, because I go back to 2 sayings that my mom always says, right now for you and later for me, and vice versa, because I don't know the next time I might be down, because right now I'm up, or you might be up and I might be down, so we have to help each other out. And another thing too that she says is, God will squeeze but he won't choke. So as tough as it gets sometimes, man, you just gotta keep pushing through, because there's always a brighter day, man. And every L doesn't have to stand for a loss, but every time I take an L, I say the L stands for a lesson. So just keep that in mind and keep pushing forward.
Dude, absolutely, man. Because I mean, the way I think of it is, that's just part of life. I mean, somewhere down the line, you're always you're gonna take a L.
For sure, but that's all part of it. But yeah, man, just keep on grinding, keep pushing. We're gonna continue to keep pushing this music, this positivity, lectures, whatever it is, just all around positivity, and keep the dialect going, and the dialogue going, communication. And go ahead and visit my website, www.therealjunior.com. Get ready for the Hood Commentator, and we're still working on the Winner's Minds. And thanks to Kyle, and keep on watching KDTV, man. Appreciate it.
That's what's up, man. Appreciate it.
A setback is a setup. A setback is a step up. Go on and keep your head up. A setback is a setup. A setback is a step up. Go on and keep your head up. A setback.